you don't win, don't give us the bird. Don't give us your stink eye. We try our best and we're successful. Come watch our show. Bet River sponsors. It's time to start. Enjoy the show.
Well, welcome in everyone to Betting Weekly Live. It's Tuesday, the 3rd of June. You're with Steve Wyss and Nigel Seeley. Nigel, how's it going with you? You're over in Munich over the weekend. Interesting digs you were staying at, and rather a sensational outcome in the match. How is it going?
Yeah, good, mate. Very good. Flying visit in on the Friday, out on the Sunday, watched the match, come back. Didn't get a ticket to the match. I thought I might be able to get one quite cheap, but before I went out there, they were going for 2,000 the ticket, and which I thought I'm not paying 2,000. And because it was a beautiful sunny day in Munich on that Saturday, last Saturday was the hottest day of the year in Munich. It was in the high 80s, low 90s. 5,000 they were for a ticket in the neutral end, just 5,000. So no, I decided not to watch it. I watched it in a bar after spending the whole day in the beer houses, which is quite an experience of all the Inter fans. It was a good laugh, though. It was a good laugh. I just went out there on my own. Got to I'd get a cheap hotel. I hoped Arsenal would be there, and obviously Arsenal weren't there. So I took it when I booked a room for two for me and my son. And yeah, it wasn't to be. So I just went out there and just had a day. Never been to Munich. I'll go back. Nice city. Beer was good. Atmosphere was good in the city itself. And the match, what I can remember of it was very one-sided. The scoreline was very one-sided. But no, it wasn't to be for the other reason I went out there is I bet Inter Milan on the futures. So I thought, if we have a nice good win if we won it. But no, it wasn't to be. The hotel was absolutely diabolical. Probably one of the worst hotels. Well, it was the worst hotel I've ever stayed in my life, in one of the worst areas. So, but there were some nice places, and but I will be back, as Arnold Schwarzenegger says.
Yeah, he has to take in an 1860 game or something there, if they still exist. That club, I had no idea. But do you know what? It was interesting with the result, the 5-0 win for PSG. It was a great result for those who study the metrics of soccer and the ratings of soccer as well. Our power rankings had PSG right at the top all the way through since the newsletter has been released, I think. And, in terms of the actual overall metrics, Inters were not great as opposed to PSG. That's not always how finals work themselves out. I kind of factored in that it would tighten things up a bit more just with the final factor. But like I said, very, really good one for the metrics backers. Some did get on PSG, 18-20 to 1 after they'd lost against Liverpool. That was obviously the time in hindsight to jump on them. But Inter, you got an each way to the final, didn't you? There.
Yeah. Pay for the flight, but it was just. I just wanted to just go. I've been to the last two Champions Leagues, so I went to the one at Wembley last year, and I just fancied going. But then I thought when the prices were out, I thought, there's no way I'm paying this to go and watch this. But it's frightening to think what it would have been if Arsenal were there. I reckon it would have been about £10 a ticket to go and see Arsenal.
Oh yeah,
it was fun. So yeah, but it was good. It was good, never to be. But those power rankings, though, we moved Paris Saint-Germain to the number one ranking team after the first leg or the second when they knocked Liverpool out. That's when they went to the top.
Right.
They were sort of Real Madrid and Barcelona were above them at the early part, and then obviously we moved them at the top when the market sort of shifted and their performances were pretty good. But on the day of the final, they showed their class. Good, brilliantly coached side. I'm surprised they're 7-1 with Bet Rivers to win the next Champions League. I think they could dominate it now. I think they could be the team to be.
Yeah, I thought that looked quite big. If we look,
Liverpool's
the favourite, but
if Liverpool reverts, then they've got that's a big statement, and they'll go favourites to win the Premier League title pretty much very quickly. They're joint favourites now, but they'll go favourites for that. Man City in complete rebuild. Chelsea not good enough. Newcastle not good enough. Inter, I think now, the manager looks like he's going to Saudi, Zaghi. So that's a difficult one, for them to place. Arsenal, I don't know. I just think Paris Saint-Germain at 7. The way they knocked all these big teams out in the knockout stages, I can't see how they can't be favourites. I thought they'd be favourites.
There's going to be 6 teams in the Champions League from England, of course, from the Premier League. Tottenham there at 40 to 1, having won the Europa league. But we're into that sort of phase of the off season where managerial roundabouts happen, speculation, things like that. Ange Postecoglou, what's going to happen there? I mean, I feel sorry for him. If they do fire him, he's kind of done what he said he'd do, won the trophy. He went all in to win that Europa League. If he loses that final, fair enough. The guillotine comes down on him, but he's won it. I think that they've sent these sort of supposed leaks out this week to try and gauge the reaction.
I reckon it's whether they trust him with the money. Do they trust him with the money to spend on the new players? They've got to buy some new players. They have hundreds of millions in revenue for the Champions League, and Daniel Levy's got to spend some money. It's all well and good having Beyonce at the stadium and the NFL, but got to start spending some money now. So is he the man that they really want to give 150 million, 200 million with to enhance the squad? That's probably why he's not going to be the manager next season. I'll tell you, it was quite interesting because I got one of the early flights out of Munich on Sunday, and airport lounges and airports after big Champions League matches or European championships after the final are just the best place to be for gossip. And so many people there. So my flight back, I had Gareth Southgate on my flight. I had the Mark Pugash, the presenter of BT, and there was basically the whole of the BT crew were there, like TNT Sport, who put on the Champions League final over in the UK. And I heard a guy sitting next to me just chatting to his mate saying, "Oh, Spurs have definitely sacked Levy. I've just got a contact here. He's messaged me." Sorry, it's not sacked. Postecoglou just got a contact here, messaged me. And I was just overhearing it. And the first thing I did, I thought, well, who's going to replace him if that is the case? And I think Thomas Frank from Brentford's got to be a shoo-in for that job. I think he's waiting for a big job. He's done an incredible job at Brentford, and he's ready for a big step up. Glasner was talked about. I know there's rumours about Glasner at Tottenham and rumours about Glasner potentially being at Man United target as well. But I think he might fancy a go at for the season with Palace. And I just thought straight away that he would be the man, Thomas Frank. But it's good when you're at the airports and you see famous people, you hear him chatting around, and you do pick up little bits of information just by doing some people watching and listening. And this guy was chatting to his mate. They clearly worked in the world of football. They were either journalists or TNT crew or something like that. But they're over there for the Champions League working. And he said that he's from one of his contacts that he's gone. So we'll have to see later in the week whether that comes true or not. But if it does come true, I think Thomas Frank will be the man.
Yeah, and for those who are interested, Spurs can be backed at 66-1 to win the Premier League. Man United are half those odds.
If you think he jacked the Premier League in to win the Europa League, what are they going to do if they get to the last six, into the knockout stages of the Europa League? They're going to jack in the Champions League next season. They'll jack off the Premier League. Liverpool are 2-1 to win it. They won it easy this year, and if they get Wirtz, they're going to be strong. Arsenal every year, the team that you say that got to break through. Newcastle can't spend a lot of money because they've got the fair financial fair play. Chelsea will get better, but the extra strength for the Champions League, they're buying a lot of players. The lap's gone there, but I just think if Liverpool can buy the 2 or 3 players they're linked with, that strength and that firepower they have, saw home this year, and it'll be even better next year.
Are you the sort of person who ever bets anti-post a year in advance, Nigel?
No.
I actually had a bet last summer on Colombia to win the World Cup.
I'll tell you what, I did actually bet Arsenal to win the Premier League this year, just because there was a bookmaker incentive. You obviously get bookmaker incentives to try and entice you to put the money on, and I thought the price was too big. I think someone offering to plus 250 when the general price was plus 175. So I thought that was a little bit too big. But usually I don't really want to tie my money up for that length of time. Anti-post betting is something that is not popular anymore, because years ago it was very popular because you used to get credit accounts. You can put money on a credit account and pay them at the end of the year. But now you've got to put your money up front. People don't want to do that so much. But sometimes the bookmaker incentives are that good that you can do okay on it. And a lot of people like to put their parlays on. Dan Roebuck had a nice winning parlay this season. So people like, well, that will be more looking for a big money parlay, but to tie your money up for Liverpool at 2-1 for the season is till August, until May, June next year. That's it's a long. You got to get through Christmas, you got to get through summer holiday, you got to get through birthdays as a family man and kids, and you wouldn't want to leave the money in there unless there was an incentive from Bet Rivers or something like that that gave you an enhanced price that you thought that's too good to true, and you get better interest with them than you would on the bank for the year.
Anyway, welcome in everyone to Betting Weekly Live. Ming Chung, Duncan, Javid, Rivandi, Chris Graham, good to see you. Byron, Duncan as well. He says Munich is a great visit. You should go in November or December when the Christmas markets are on. Don't they have Oktoberfest out there as well?
I mean, I was drinking these Stein pints. They were 1 litre of beer. I had 6 of them, which is about 13 pints, but they were rather strong. I don't know what I'd be like in the Munich Fest, but they were quite heavy. I'll let you know that, but heavy literally to lift them and heavy to drink them as well. But it was, I can imagine it being really good laugh out there for the Oktoberfest. It'd be quite good. It'll be a great, because we win, end the season trip to go out to there for the Christmas party in the beer gardens of for Christmas in Munich. That'd be good. And bring anybody from the comments who want to come. We all meet up in Munich for the Christmas parties. It'd be great.
It's got to be someone who regularly watches the live show, lives in Munich. I reckon by default there'd be someone. So let us know if you live Munich or near there.
We're all staying at your house. We're all coming round.
I do agree with the Tottenham angle there. This season it was about the trophy. Next season going forward, it's a bit different. And in terms of the response to hey, I agree. I think Man United shouldn't be 33-1. I think they should be bigger. But they're always going to take a handle, Man United, on reputation. So books do have to be a little bit careful. Daniel Lucani, good to see you as well. The main crux of this show is going to be surrounding French Open tennis, though, Nigel. We're right in the crunch stage now of events at Roland Garros. Plenty to discuss. A big game coming up later. You can watch this on the BetRivers app or the website. Carlos Alcaraz against Tommy Paul. 2 house specials, actually, for this game as well. Alcaraz, obviously, a huge favourite. So there's a couple of house specials which might interest the bettors out there. Tommy Paul to win the first or the second set, plus 150, and Tommy Paul to win 4 or more games in every set against Carlos Alcaraz at plus 550. I don't know whether you like the dog in this game, Nigel, or not, but if someone does, then they can get tucked into those house specials.
Yeah, I mean, there is a game in play at the moment between the American Francis Tiafoe and Lorenzo Musetti, which looks like it's going to go to distance. So that Tommy Paul Alcaraz game will follow that one later on tonight. So this one here is looking quite an interesting match. Actually, it's quite 1 set all and 1 all in the third. So head across to the BetRivers web site or the app for the latest input on this one. Well, Tommy Paul and Alcaraz is a match that they played 6 times before. Alcaraz leads 4-2 in the head-to-head. Tommy Paul has taken a set off Alcaraz, though. In a lot of those matches, 6 of those matches, he took at least 1 set. The best of 5 set matches they've met once was at Wimbledon last year, and Alcaraz won 3 sets to 1. But Tommy Paul did take that first set. So if you want to bet Tommy Paul to take the first set or the second set, you will have a good opportunity here. I am slightly worried about it because the reason I'm slightly worried about it is Tommy Paul's played an awful lot of tennis. He was struggling big time against Fucsovics in round 2. Shouldn't have won that match. Was really, really struggling towards the end. He looked absolutely exhausted. How he got through that much, I don't know. But then 2 days later after that, he played Kachanov, the Russian, in another 5-set epic, which was another real demoralizing match. These matches are like 4.5 hours on court, 4 hours on court. That's a lot of tennis time to play. After that match in the quarterfinal, he played Alexei Popyrin, who didn't look fit himself in the last 16, and he won 3 straight sets. So that was a little bit of a comfort for him. But to play back-to-back 5-setters and then run into Carlos Alcaraz, who knows going to run for every ball, who's going to be long rallies. It's going to be quite slow conditions when the two get to the court tonight. The sun will be setting and it will be slower. It's not the opponent you want to be running into. And I honestly feel a little bit worried for Tommy Paul tonight. I'm a little bit worried that he might not complete the match because I don't think he's 100% fit on the back of those 2 matches. I think he's exhausted. I know, like I say, he did win against Popyrin, but that was nowhere near a challenge what he's got to face today. And I am expecting Carlos Alcaraz, who's been sensational this tournament, and he's been sensational since he won the tournament in Rome. He's now won 11, I think, consecutive matches on clay. He absolutely done a brilliant performance on Sinner at the 4-0 Talika. And in this tournament, although he's dropped sets in his last 3 matches against Ben Shelton, Zuma and Marijan, I just got a feeling tonight it's going to be 1 match too many for Tommy Paul. And I just like Alcaraz to win this. There was a bet, though, on the BetRivers website, which I gave on the newsletter. And you might want to check this out because there were 3-0 Alcaraz, which was minus 132. But Tommy Paul not to win a set was minus 120. So there's better value to have Tommy Paul not to win a set at minus 120, which is essentially exactly the same bet compared to the 3-0. So have a look out for those specials and have a look at for those markets, even though they're exactly the same. You're betting 3-0. It was better value to bet Tommy Paul not to win a set than the straight 3-0 for Alcaraz.
Yeah, that's a very good point. You always got to check that in the markets in whatever different sports, because you often get the same bet, but in different markets.
I don't know why that is. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Algorithms? I don't know either, really, Nigel.
Well, I mean, sometimes we've done same game parlays and put 2 legs in it, and one of the short price favourites and the actual one of the singles is better than the same game parlay. So if you put in like
win to nil and both teams score no as well.
Okay, so sometimes there's a little bit of a difference, but yeah, I did notice that on the newsletter on Monday, and I just thought that was the best way. So head across and look for Tommy Paul not to win a set. No, that would be my bet tonight in that match.
Yeah, and money line 94% of the money's on Alcaraz. On the spread, it's a lot closer. 60% of the money on Alcaraz there, pretty much split with 52% of the tickets. So yeah, you're thinking there a straightforward victory for. Yeah,
it's
Alcaraz.
Been a bit disappointing. I mean, I think that in the last 18 matches on the men's draw, only one underdog has won. And in the French Open, and one has retired. So 16 consecutive winning favourites, and that underdog one was yesterday, Bublik. And on the women's, it's been 26 matches, and only 3 underdogs have won, and all 3 of them were the same player, Boisson, who won. So
favourites delight.
It's just been it's every match has been favourites, and you're gonna get like the top 3 or 4 in the betting. They're going to make up the semi-finals in probably at the start of the tournament, in both for the men's and the women. So it's not really been an interesting tournament for shocks. And Sean Calvert mentioned that historically this tournament isn't one that gives you a lot of shocks, and get with the favourites in parlays is probably your best bet things to do. Even though the odds are quite short, it's going to be very difficult to make a case for any of these underdogs.
Meninda's got an interesting same game parlay here. Alcaraz straight sets and most aces at 2-1. He's asking, do you think that could be worth a play? Seems a nice boost. Yeah. I mean, that definitely could be worth a play. I think it's the aces is Alcaraz is quite a big server. So I haven't got the statistics on the aces yet, but I mean, I haven't got it in front of me. But he is quite, even though he's quite moving. He's a clay court player. He does pack a punch. I mean, he's the Wimbledon champion. One of his biggest skills and one of his most improving areas of his game is his serve. And if you're going to win majors, you've got to serve well. And and the other thing, if you're winning quite comfortably, the opponent could quite easily give up. And Tommy Paul could be running on empty gas at the end of the set 3s, where he might not even try to make some of these points if they're a little bit more effort, because he's had a long time on the court. Rubber 2908, I agree with your comment there. Kelleher to Brentford, I think, is a great bit of business. I was hoping my own club, Leeds United, would actually go in for Kelleher. I think he'll do well for them there. And Real Brandon King, I'm glad you enjoyed the Lindt Chocolate Museum in Zurich. Duncan's made a good point about the beers there. 40 minutes though, Duncan. That seems quite a long wait.
No, it does take a long time. It takes you ages to get. It takes you a long time to get served. I was in there for about 3 hours, and I think I've done 4 in 3 hours. And then I went to another bar and had another beer house. But yeah, it takes you a long time to get served. It's like the NHS over in this country. It takes you a long time to be seen, but when you are seen, you get looked after. So once you get into those beer halls, you get looked after. Once you get your first one down you.
I've seen videos of like the waitresses at Oktoberfest and the number of beers they carry in one go.
Lovely, isn't it? But what a perfect, absolutely perfect. That's a keeper, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Steve from Lynn, good to see you. Nice hit there for you on Sabalenka today. We're going to talk about the women's game now. And there was a significant bet yesterday, a winner, or nearly $10,000 on Lois Boisson. I don't know how you pronounce her. Boisson. That was live on the money line at minus 370. Shame it wasn't pre-game. She was about 6 or 7 to 1, I do believe, against Jessica Pegula. And the women's French Open now, we've got two semi-finalists. Sabalenka and Swiatek will meet against each other. And then 4 others. You've got an outright play. Mirra, Andreeva, Nigel, and Rory Giuwani's still got Madison Keys at 40-1. Where is the value in the outright market for the Women's French Open now, do you think?
I think the value lies on the final. I genuinely believe that I still think that whoever comes out the bottom half, either Mirra, Andreeva or Coco Gauff, will beat Sabalenka or Swiatek. I think, or Keys. I'm not so more confident about Keys, but I believe the top 4 are going to play each other in the semi-finals, which isn't rocket science. But I think Sabalenka and Swiatek has been a collision course for them to meet, and all the hype is around these two. That the other two have just got under the radar. And Andreeva and Gauff have had good years this season brilliant years against Sabalenka and Swiatek. Swiatek has got beaten by both of them in many occasions this year, and they are a couple of the form players in the world coming into this tournament. Obviously, Sabalenka isn't the form. Swiatek hasn't been the form horse coming into it, but Sabalenka is the world number 1 and the best player in the world. But the other two on this surface, and the slower it gets, the better. And that's a key factor. The weather is going to drop a little bit tomorrow. I think there's a bit of rain around. And over the course to the weekend, where it's going to be temperature is going to be a lot cooler than they have been in the early part of last week and the early part of this week. So I think the cool temperatures may suit those players. I don't think it's going to suit Madison Keys. I genuinely don't. I mean, Rory's on the 40-1. He's got a great bet, 22-1. He's got to win the quarter as well. But it needs to be hot for her. It needs to be court speed where it's a bit quicker. The slower it is, that she's going to find it really, really tough against Gauff in the slow conditions. And I still think that Madison Keys is all about Wimbledon. Bet Rivers is only 10-1 for her to win Wimbledon. And, she's won the Australian Open. The quicker it is and the faster conditions, she's the girl. But at French Open, I'm not convinced by her. So I think the semi-final will be Andreeva against Gauff. And it'll be Swiatek v Sabalenka, as we know. And I think the value lies on the winner of that Andreeva Gauff match against the other two, because I think the market will be very, very, very in favour of the winner of Sabalenka and Swiatek. But sometimes in history and sometimes in tennis, when you have such a big semi-final, and that one could be an epic semi-final, the other one will be an epic semi-final as well. But two guys, they are like the two rivals, and they are like the two big names in the women's tennis. They may have left a bit on court to get to the final, and that would be a worry for me. And they've had a tougher route to the final than Gauff and Andreeva. We've had it very, very easy. Neither of those, especially Andreeva. I know Andreeva has dropped a set, but I don't think Gauff has as well. So yeah, I would wait to find out whoever they got into the final. I don't believe the winner of Swiatek or Sabalenka wins this tournament. I still think Andreeva and Gauff have a big say in this.
Yeah, I mean, let's take a look at these women's games then. Let's start with the big favourite first. Andreeva is minus 835 to beat Lois Boisson, as I'm going to call her. Big dog again, Boisson. Games line minus 5.5. I mean, this should be a very straightforward win for the young favourite here, Nigel. Surely. Well,
she hasn't dropped a set in the whole tournament, Mirra Andreeva. She's been absolutely sensational. She's been tested. She's dropped a serve in some matches, but she's been hard. She hasn't been trouble whatsoever. And I don't believe Boisson, however well she's playing, is going to trouble her. I've got a feeling it could be rather embarrassing for the French girl. I think she's done exceptionally well to get this far. The nerves on the big occasion. I know she beat Jess Pegula, but Jess Pegula is not a clay courter. She's a player that, again, needs it quicker. And Jessica Pegula is someone who just didn't handle the occasion, and the French girl got with the crowd and it got behind her. Mirra Andreeva is ice cold. I don't think this will phase her at all. I don't see any other reason that a comfortable 2-0. She hasn't dropped the set yet. I don't think she looks like dropping a set. She's had the easiest route through to a semi-final of a major that I can remember, if she gets past there. I think she would quite easily. Was it 6.5 the spread, did you say?
Yeah, 5.5.
5.5 or 6, so 5.5. Well, she's covered. She's all bar one match. She's covered the 5.5. She's been 5, 8. She's done 5 again. Sorry. Oh no. So there's been a few 5s. So I think she'll cover. I think she'll cover the 5 easy here. I think I'd rather take her to cover the 5 than the total, go under the total, but I don't see any problems for Andreeva at all in this one. And in the other match, again, I think Gauff wins it. They've only met once previously before. That was at Wimbledon, I believe it was, and that will suit Madison Keys. And no surprise on. No, sorry, I got it wrong again. They met 5 times before. I remember Eastbourne it was. I looked on one website earlier today and it said 1-0, and I thought that didn't look right. But anyway, I wrote it down. They met 5 times before, 3-2 to Madison Keys, and she did win the last time they played it, which was on clay in Madrid. But that is at altitude. That is a very, very fast course from clay court surfaces. It's not a slow one, and the weather conditions tomorrow will favour Gauff. I think that will be a win for Gauff, but it might not be as easy as the line suggests. I think the total could be a bet there over -124. Madison Keys has beaten her. Madison Keys has been very popular in the betting. She's beaten her 3 times, but I just do think that the slower conditions and turn in the weather will suit Coco Gauff.
Just a stat from producer Troy here. Coco Gauff has failed to cover the game spread in each of her last 3 Grand Slam quarterfinals. And Madison Keys has won each of her last 3 Grand Slam matches as an underdog in 3 sets.
That'll bring in the overs. That'll definitely bring in the overs. I do think that they're 2 American players who've got something to prove. They'll have a right go at each other. But I just feel that if it was a hot day tomorrow, sunny day in Paris, I would think that there could be a potential of a shock, but it's not. It's going to be gloomy, bit overcast, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, rain, and that will mean the roof will be on. So, no, I don't think that will suit Keys.
Rory Giovanni's on Keys at 7-1 to win this match, to win the quarter.
Oh, he's got a great bet.
Yeah, I mean, we wish him well with that. 83% of the money is on Gauff, though. She has been backed here with 60% of the tickets as well. The spread as well. 83% of that money on the spread is on Gauff. So he's very popular with the bettors.
Well, she's a very popular American. Every tournament she plays in, she's very popular with the American bettors. And Madison Keys isn't a popular betting person. I mean, even when she won the Australian Open, it would have been a brilliant result for the books. No one would have expected her to win that. No one would expect her to do well, but she's a major champion. Gauff is a major champion as well. But for Keys to win this, she needs Gauff to have a bad day. Keys needs to serve the best that she's ever served, and she needs the weather to be on her side, and unfortunately it isn't.
Just looking through some of the comments here. Meninda's asking, have you got an early fancy on the men's Wimbledon outright? Nigel,
I bet her cash at 125 to 1 when he got to the final of Geneva last week. He got beat in the first round of the French Open or second round of the French Open, which doesn't really bother me, but I thought that was a big price. And I also bet Lorenzo Musetti, who's here in the quarterfinals, a semi-finalist at Wimbledon last year. I bet him at 100 to 1 about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So they're the only 2 bets I've had at the moment. Whether they can challenge Sinner or whether they can challenge Alcaraz, or if Djokovic or Jack Draper, who's going to be a major force at Wimbledon, we'll have to see. But at the prices, they were value, I thought.
Meninda got caught out by the Munich strength of beer and he lost his passport, Nigel. That's not what you want to happen, is it?
You don't want to lose your passport, mate. That's one thing. That's one of my biggest fears, losing the passport.
Hey, Liverpool to win the quadruple, 400 to 1. I think that might be stretching it a little bit, hey. Exact number of trophies for. What counts as a trophy, hey, these days? Whether community shields and stuff like that, I don't know. But best of luck with that one. This semi-final, it's going to be a massive one, isn't it, on Thursday, Nigel? Sabalenka, Swiatek. It looks a genuine pick-em with the books. Which way would you personally lean of the 2 of them?
Well, if you'd watched the 2 of them all season long and coming into this tournament, you would have to say that Iga Swiatek was going to be beaten by Sabalenka. Sabalenka will beat Iga Swiatek. But again, I just think that the weather is not going to be Sabalenka's friend. Rain down to about 17 degrees, overcast, slow court. It's Swiatek court conditions perfectly. It is not the big serving powerhouse Sabalenka's conditions. And if you go through the head-to-head between the 2 of them, it's pretty ominous for Sabalenka bettors. I mean, 9-4 is the career head-to-head record. 9 wins for Swiatek, 4 for Sabalenka, but they've met 6 times on clay, and Swiatek leads 5-1. And the only time Sabalenka did beat her was last year, in 2023 in Madrid, which again, I've just mentioned that Madrid being the quickest clay court of all. The Madrid court is as quick as some hard courts. So that's not a surprise. But when you find the real slow courts that they're going to play on here in the French Open, the most similar one is in Rome. And Swiatek won in the final last year, 6-2, 6-3. She also won in the final semi-final in 2022, 6-2, 6-1. So the slower it goes, in more testing heavy clay conditions, it's Swiatek all the way. But her form, it coming into this tournament, has been woeful. I said in the preview show, if she won this, it would be her greatest achievement in tennis because her draw was absolutely horrendous. She's navigated every single person. She looked good today. Sabalenka looked good in the second set, but Zheng caused all kinds of problems in the set number 1 and perhaps should have won that first set. So it's a difficult one, this, because for what we've seen in 2025, Sabalenka would look a better around that kind of price at -107. But on previous and on what the conditions are going to be like, Swiatek has absolutely been ruthless against Sabalenka in these slow, wet conditions, damp clay conditions. And it's whether you go with what we've seen so far this season or go for what we've seen historically. For me, I'm just going to enjoy the occasion. What I would like as a better of Andreeva, and I've also bet Gauff as well, is for this match to be 6-7, 7-6, 7-6, and play for 3.5 hours in an absolute epic. That's what I want. But on the outright market, I just got a sneaky feeling that Igor Swiatek might do it because nobody expects her to do it. And those all-important weather. I mean, it's an important factor. It's a massive, massive factor in clay court tennis. And it's going to be very cold.
Yeah, that is a very good point, actually. For sure, the weather. And let's see if history kind of continues or the recent form. I know, going into the French Open, a lot of people doubted her, didn't they, Swiatek? And she's there in the semi-finals.
I did. She was a huge price compared to him. She's -265 like 3 months ago to win this. But remember, she's won it 4 times. This is her place. But she was unbeatable compared to everybody. The season she started off this tournament around about 4-1, and she's done everything that she needed to do. And I think she'll fancy her chances against Sabalenka in these conditions. She hasn't dropped the set yet. Sabalenka, Swiatek did against Rybakina, but she grinded her down. And, defeats against Collins in Rome, defeats against Gauff in the semi-finals, blitzed by Gauff in the semi-finals in Madrid. But I do think that this is the way the weather is turning over the weekend will suit Swiatek. Yeah, just on the early flurries, though, Bet Rivers' early money has been for moves for Swiatek. The line has shortened up on her, which doesn't surprise me, given the weather forecast.
There's also that's Thursday game, isn't it, Nigel? That's semi-finals going to be.
And it gets really bad. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, the really bad 3 days, like the worst weather probably of the 2 weeks in Paris.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty bad everywhere. I think north of Spain, isn't it? Okay, well, we've got 2 men's matches tomorrow to talk about as well. Sinner against Bublik and Zverev against Djokovic. Incredible result for Bublik against Draper. Don't really know what went wrong for Draper in that game, Nigel.
Well, he's not a natural clay court, nor Bublik, and they just Bublik just played the game of his life and believed that he could beat him, but he held on. He served it out, which many people at the time thought he wasn't going to serve it out. The one thing I would say about these 2 matches, but I don't want to go into too much detail on it because we've just given but we've got a betting weekly game bet match show which has just gone live, and so Sean has got his picks on here. I think the over 28.5 in Bublik Bublik match against Sinner is the bet that I would probably go for. So over 28.5 games, I do think that looks a little bit of value there at -117. In Zverev Djokovic game, it is a 50-50 call. If you're seeing the newsletter for our ratings on the clay court range, you'll know that these 2 have been more or less ranked exactly the same. I did have a slight lean for Alexander Zverev, but I was just got a message from someone to say that Alexander Zverev's got a bit of a fever, and he didn't train much today. So whether that's true or not, I don't know. So we'll have to see how the market goes on that one. With that information come in after we recorded Game Bet Match. So it's worth noting that. So there was kind of got a throat infection and some kind of fever. Somebody just messaged me. So we'll have to see if that's rumours or whether that's true or not. But my worry with Djokovic, I don't think Djokovic can last 5 sets anymore against the big players. Djokovic won his 100th tournament last week in Geneva, or 2 weeks ago in Geneva, but it was a best of 3 sets. In the best of 5 sets on a slow clay court, grinding it out against Zverev and Alcaraz, a sinner. I don't think Djokovic can do that anymore at 38 years of age. So I'm worried about that. Father Time's caught up with him a little bit. But if you want to bet Djokovic, your best bet is to bet him to win 3-0, because if this rumour is true, he has to start out the blocks fast, and he could beat Zverev 3-0. That would be the up May. I would go for it. But yeah, I'm quite worried about that. But I do think over 28.5 games in the Bublik match is a little bit of interest for me.
Yeah, someone put in the comments here, Duncan says that he thinks Bublik will win a set tomorrow. There was more money on Zverev on the spread, 54% of the money on Zverev on the spread. If Djokovic was to win another Grand Slam, would that be one of the best achievements in sport, considering his age? Do you think? He's knocking on 40, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. But he says that all he cares about now is majors. I mean, this is, I can't imagine him going on for many more. It could be his last French Open. Did he go on another year? I don't know. But I just worry about him going through 5 sets. It would be one of the greatest achievements in the world of tennis. I mean, Andre Agassi come back and won a major after having so much time out, had to come back and challenge himself and go up. Goran Ivanisevic won Wimbledon with that serve, that incredible year where he won it. But there's been some big achievements in tennis, but it would be right up there. But I just don't think he can go the distance in the best of 5 sets against these younger players. Alcaraz, Sinner, Zverev, I worry about him over 5.
Especially on clay.
More so on clay. The rallies are longer, points. You're going to run into, you're going to struggle. You got to remember he was having operations about 8 weeks ago. He took some time off and he had another operation. And yeah, I mean, it would be probably the greatest achievement in tennis for sure. Whether world sport, I'm not sure about that. But he will just over 5. If he's got to do it, he's got to win 3-0. That's his best bet.
The tennis content from the Because We Win team just continues. We've got tennis live in about an hour and a half with Mitch Michaels and Tim Dennis. You just mentioned there, Nigel, that the latest Game Bet Match is out as well. It's absolutely non-stop action from Roland Garros. Betting Weekly Tennis live tomorrow as well. Is going to be on board. So much content at the moment. And then coming up later, of course, we've got the Fast Break show, which has been on fire, and Betting Weekly Hardball as well.
Yeah, you also got to remember that next week, the grass court season starts as well, with Queen's Club for the women and the men's. And then we're banging to Wimbledon. To the turnaround is incredible. And the amount of views and the amount of people who have been watching the tennis stuff has been brilliant. I think it's our highest ever tennis tournament. So thank you very much for anybody watching that. And hopefully we can cash some tickets towards now in the end with some outright picks on the women's side as well.
And the Betting Weekly newsletter, do remember to subscribe to that. I do know that there's a couple of special insiders upcoming, targeting certain Pacific events. So yeah, do. And also we get a newsletter out on a Monday as well, of course. So do subscribe to that if you've not already. Tomorrow, Dan Roebuck will be on Betting Weekly Live. I'm not actually sure who he's with.
Rory Barlow. Rory
Barlow's going to be on. Yeah. We've got, of course, we've got bloody Nations League. Stuff, haven't we? Yeah. And then a double dose of Simon Holden to finish the week as well.
You always want a double dose of Simon Holden.
That's going to be fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
But thank you, everyone. If you're new,
I mean, it's a bit of a struggle some of these days because there's so much tennis and we're doing this with the world, with any football to bet on. But obviously, there's always something going on in the world of sport. There's always something going on this channel here, some betting action for you, or some tips, some shows to guide you what's going on for that day. And we got a UFC show starting as well on Friday. So we have that Betting Weekly Fight Life. Starts on Friday. A new weekly MMA show with Paul Hughes, our newsletter editor, and Carl Andrew as well. So that'll be quite interesting as well to see how that goes.
I'm sure they'll be swinging hard there to find some winners. You're right, absolutely. The sucker card is you're rather scraping the barrel today. Someone actually put a bet up earlier in chat. I think it was Byron, about a bet of the day in the Women's Nations League. I think it was Italy against Italy. I can't remember. I'm looking at Italy at Wales under 2.75 goals. So if you do want to have a soccer wager, that could be the one. I mean, I have no idea.
Croatia women are playing Gibraltar women today, and I saw they were like minus 5,000, like 50,000 or something like that. So, and the spread must be about 5.5 or 6.5. So I've got no idea what to do on that one. I like the break. The club championships coming out. It's going to be quite good, but I like the break when there's no and just concentrate on the tennis. For me, I won't be chasing women's football action. Not for me.
There's a match in the Gambian League kicking off in 20 minutes time.
Come on.
Between, listen to these names: Fortune and Steve Biko.
He's one bloke who comments on this, Steve Biko. He's got no chance on his own against Fortune, has he? There's been Fortune for Fortunes, and Steve Biko's on his own. He's got no chance.
We wish them great fortune. Anyway, thank you, Nigel, as ever. Remember,
mate.
10 weeks, betting weekly tennis live in about hour and 20 minutes time. Thank you, everyone who joined live or on demand, and we'll see you next time on Betting Weekly Live.